Hi there, my name is Subash Shah and this is my screen recorded presentation for the object-oriented programming assignment using LBO graphics. I'll walk you through my project by showing the visual output and code side by side in IntelliJ and demonstrate each feature while ticking them off the OOP assignment demo checklist. So let's begin with the first item on the checklist, ensuring that LBO graphics.jar is properly added in your project. So in your project. As you can see here, under the project structure modules, the lbugraphics.jar file has been successfully added. This means that all classes and methods provided by the lbugraphics library are now available in my project for use. So yes, lbugraphics.jar properly added to the project. Moving on to the next question, project contains main class.java sets up the lbugraphics correctly by extending lbugraphics. Or you have moved on and done this in totalgraphics.java and you have made an object of this in main class.java. So in your project. So in my case, I have created a custom class called Turtle Graphics that extends the LBU graphics, which means it inherits all the graphical capabilities provided by the library. And in my main class, here, I have created an object of Turtle Graphics which sets up and launches the graphical windows properly. So yes, it does correctly sets up the LBU graphics. Now moving on to the next question. Correctly call the LB graphics about method and the turtle animation is displayed. Show your code and then show it running. Okay, here in my code, inside the process command method, I have called the about method from the LBU graphics. Now I will run the program and here's the turtle animation being displayed when I run the project. So yes, this requirement is done. Now moving on to the sorry. So yes, this requirement is done. Now moving on to the next question. Main class.java has a main method which creates an object of turtle graphics Java and then all the further processing is done from this project. So all of this in your project. Here my main method, inside my main method where I have created an object of turtle graphics called turtle graphics. This object launches the graphics windows and handles all the user interactions and drawing commands. Everything else in the program, from drawing shapes to handling commands, run through this object. So yes, this requirement is completed. Now moving on to the next question, the about method is called and the OOP animation appears when the user types about into the text field or clicks the OK button. So in your code and show the turtle animation in response to typing about. So again here inside the process command method, if the command is empty, then the about method is called from the LBU graphics, or if the user types in command about, then the about method is called accordingly. As you can see here, when I press OK, the turtle animation appears. So this checklist is also completed. Now moving on to requirement 2, command support. Before taking this checklist, I'll quickly show how my program processes user commands and handles parameters. This method must be inherited from LBU graphics class to execute commands and is the entry point for all commands. Here, when the user types a command, it first adds it to an array list, command history, and then appends to append command area. Then here it uses a built-in method from a string class to split input into parts using spaces as delimiters. The first part is the command name, that is part index 0, which is also converted to lowercase using built-in method from a string class, and any additional parts are treated as parameters. Now, after the command is split, the program then routes the command through different handlers using if-else conditional statements. Simple commands like about executes directly, where color command gets special handling. If it's a color command like red, blue, or green, it checks only a command is entered and goes through a separate method called handle color command that sets the pen color. Everything else goes to process complex command method. Here inside the process complex command method, I have used a switch case that acts as our command router. Each case represents a different command that the turtle understands. Notice how similar commands like left, right are grouped together, while complex commands like circle, triangle have their own dedicated handler. Now let's examine parameter handling using movement command method as an example. So if the user types move 100, in, so if the user types move 100, then the handle movement command method is called, and inside this method it first validates that at least one parameter is entered. Here it checks if the parts of the string is greater than 2. If not, the program parses the string part 1 to an integer. This is where string 100 becomes an actual number we can use. Before using the parameter, we validate it for non-zero parameter and if the parameter is within the max bound. We then parse the value to the forward method, where a ternary operator is used to check if reverse is true. If so, value is made negative, otherwise it remains positive. Some commands have multiple parameters. Here, the circle command can work with just a radius or radius plus x plus y coordinates, where it checks the part's length and calls the method accordingly. So this is how command processing works in my project, from taking raw input, splitting and identifying it, to executing the right method based on what the user types. Throughout all these methods, you will see consistent error handling and modular programming approach. Now I'll begin demonstrating and ticking off the checklist one by one. Pin down command working. We'll see if it worked in a moment. So in your code, so here in my code, you can see the pin down command and pin state is set to true. I just showed you the pin down command code. So yes, move command works. You can tick this if it works without or with a parameter. So in your code and then show the turtle moving in response to the user typing move. If you can also input a parameter, tick this and move on to the next question. So move can be entered with a parameter. So I'll take this as a yes, and Move on to the next question. Move command works with a parameter and can be moved the turtle by the amount typed. So in your code, then show the turtle moving by move 100. Okay, so when the command move is entered, it calls the handle movement command method. Here is the method for command move. Now, let me clear the screen and 100. I'll type the command move 100. You can see the turtle move forward, drawing a line. So I'll take this as a yes. Reverse command works. You can tick this if it works with or without a parameter. So it does work. It does. Reverse command does works with a parameter. So I'll tick this as a yes and move on to the next question. Reverse command works with a parameter and can be moved the turtle by the amount type. So in your code, then show the turtle moving by typing reverse 100. So here in my code, if the command reverse is entered, it calls the handle rotation action command method. And here inside this method, you can see that it first validates the parameter for a max distance value that I have set to 1000. And then it calls the forward method, making the parameter negative. So let's see this in action. Reversed 100. The turtle moved backward. So I'll take this as a yes. Moving on to the next question. Left command works. You can tick this if it works without or with a parameter. So here goes. So left command does work with or without a parameter. So I'll take this as a yes and move on to the next question. Left command works with a parameter and can be rotate the turtle by the amount type. So in your code, show the turtle moving by typing left 90 and move 100. So here in my code, if the command is left, it again calls the handle rotation or action command. Sorry, the handle rotation or action method. And inside this method, if no parameter is entered, it calls the left method from the LBU graphics where the turtle is rotated by 90 degree. And if the left command is entered with parameter, it first validates for the max angle that I have set to 3601. Then it overloads the previous left method. So let's see this in action. Left 90, the turtle rotates by 90 degrees and then move 100. The turtle moved forward, drawing a line. So I'll tick this as a yes and moving on to the next question. Right command works. You can tick this if it works without or with a parameter. So right command does works with or without a parameter. I'll tick this as a yes and move on to the next question. Right command works with a parameter and can be rotate the turtle by the amount type. So in your code, then show the turtle moving turn right 90 and then move 100. Here in my code, if the user enters right, again the handle rotation or action command method is called, and inside this method, the command is right. Right method is called from the LView graphics, where the turtle is rotated by 90 degrees by default, but if it's entered with a parameter, then it first validates with the max angle that was max angle that I have set to 3601, and then overloads the previous right method with the value. Let's see this in action. Right 90. You can see the turtle rotates by 90 degrees and move 100. So the turtle moved forward. So I'll take this as a yes. Now moving on to the next question. Pen up command working. Type pen up and then write 90 and move 100. If all is working with parameters, you will see an end shape with the turtle on the bottom left pointing down. So pen up, write 90 and move 100. Pen up, write 90, move 100. You should see an end shape with the turtle on the bottom left and pointing left. So I guess this is the end shape, and the turtle is at the bottom left pointing left. So I'll take this as a yes. At least 4 color commands such as red command working. So it working by typing pen down, then red, then move 100. The turtle should move further left and draw a red line. So your four color, so all four of your colors so in your code. So let's see it in action first. If I type blue, move 100. Sorry. Okay, see the thing was first I have to type pen down, then blue, move 100, green, move 100, white, move 100, magenta, move 100. As you can see here, all four color commands blue, green, white, and magenta are working correctly, and each draws with the specified color. Now I'll quickly show you this in my code. Here inside the process command method, each color command method is called, which returns true or false. If it's true, then the handle color command method is called. Let me show you this quickly. So here, each color command checks if the entered command matches any of the predefined color names from the color names array. So here's the color names array. Then the color command method is called here. If it matches, it returns the color name and moves to the handle color command method that sets the pen color using the matching index from the color presets. And I have defined the color presets as well up here. You can see here. So I'll take this as a yes. And moving on to the next question. Clear command is working. So in your code, showing it clearing the display, the total should be on the far left of a clearer display. So let's see this in action. Yeah. Okay. So the total is on the far left and pointing left. Now I'll show you this in my code. So here, when the clear command is entered, check concept changes before clear method is called. So here inside this method optionally asks the user for clearing the screen. Then a clear method is called to clear the screen. Also, I have overridden the clear method. Here you can see first it calls the super clear, which clears the graphical display from the original LB graphic class. Then it clears the command history list to remove all the previous entered command, and it also resets the command area with a placeholder message that indicates it has been cleared. Then it sets flag for is image saved and is command saved to false, which helps track whether the user has saved their work or not. So I'll take this as a yes. And moving on to the next question. Reset command working. Type right, then move 100. So a line is drawn. Then type reset. The total should return to the center and point down. So in your code. So here, if I type right, the total rotates by 90 degrees. Then move 100. You can see it draw a line with the same color that was specified before. Now when I type reset, the turtle returns to the center facing down. So in my code, when the command is reset, it directly calls the reset method from the LBU graphics class. And also for the reset method, I have overridden the reset method here. But let me show you quickly. Here you can see first it calls the super.reset, which resets the total position to the center and point it downward, and sets the pin width to 1 from the original LB graphics class. Then I clear the saved image and command flags, then set the pen color to red and set the pen state true as required by the assignment specification. So I'll take this as a yes. Now moving on to requirement 3, validating command. Report invalid command, type XXXX and it should report that it is an invalid command. So in your code and so it detecting an invalid command. So also in my code, how the invalid commands are handled. So here, if the command is other than except and caller command, it goes through process complex command method. Inside this method, if the command doesn't matches any of the cases provided, then the default is triggered and it shows the pop-up dialog box saying that the command is invalid and the command. So now let's see this in action. So if I type 4 axis, it does shows invalid command and the command that I enter. So let me tick this as a yes. Now moving on to the next question. Detects valid command with missing parameter. Type move with no parameter. It should report that there is a missing parameter. So in your code and so it detecting a missing parameter. So if the command is move, it again goes. So if the command is move, then the handle movement command method is called. Inside the handle movement method command. So inside the handle movement command, I have called the validate parameter count method, which I have created. Here you can see I have created the validate parameter count that takes the string parts and the required parameter as required parameter integer as parameter. Then it checks for the length and it shows the pop-up message saying the parameter missing for the command that is parts 0. So let's see this in action. So if I type move, it does says missing parameter for the command move. Now I'll take this as a yes. And now moving to next question, detects non-numeric parameter. Type move xxx with non-numeric parameter. It should report the missing parameter to the user. So in your code and so in your code how you handle this. So here in my code, again if the command is move, it calls the handle movement command method. Here inside this method, if the validate parameter counts returns true, then here it checks for the length and then inside the try 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 catch block here, if the string cannot be passed as an parsed as an integer, then it catches the number format exception and calls the show number format error method, which I have created again here. Here that shows up the dialog box saying invalid number format. Now let's see this in action. So if I type move and 3 axis, it does shows invalid number format. So I'll take this as a yes. Now moving on to the next question, bound parameters. For example, you could show that you can't move the total of the screen or make it wrap onto the other side, and or so you can pass negative or excessively large numbers. So in your code, so your program reporting this to the user. So in my code, again if the command is move, it goes through the handle movement command method, and then the value is passed to the forward method. Forward method. So for checking the bound parameter, what I have done here is I have overridden the forward method where an object new position is created for the class point that I have imported from the Java AWT package. Then the calculate new position method is called where the value for move is passed as parameter here distance. Then the calculate new method is called where the value per move is passed as parameter. Inside the calculate new position method, get direction is called from the LBU graphics and then converts the degree to radian using built-in method, and based on the current x and y position and the radian value, it calculates the future position of the turtle and returns the xy coordinates for the turtle where it will end up. Then here it gets validated for the new x and y position. Let me show you this validator method. Here you can see I have created the validator method where getSize method is being called from Java AWT component. Then here it returns true if the x coordinates is less than or equal to 400 and y coordinates is less than or equals to 800. Then if this validator methods returns true, it is then passed to the super forward method. Now let's see all of these in action here. So if I type move, let's say 1500, let's say if I type move 600, it does shows a display message here saying the turtle would move out of the screen bound. Also in my code, inside the if the command is move, inside the handle movement command method here, you can see that I have called the validated non-zero method that validates for the zero value and returns the boolean value accordingly. Likewise, I have created the validate positive value and then validate the max value. So here, if I type move -10, it says parameter must be positive. If I type move 0, it says value cannot be 0. And if I type move 1500, it says the distance is too large, max is 1000. So I'll take this as a yes. Moving on to requirement 4, saving and loading. Save commands works to save an image. Draw something with the commands show in your code, draw something and save it. Open up the image in a paint package. First I'll show you the code. When the command save is entered, it calls the method openSave dialog. Here is the code for the openSave dialog method. In this method, a file chooser lets the user select where to save the file. If the user cancels, the method exits. If confirmed, it uses imageio.write method to save the canvas using getBufferedImage method from the LBU graphics that returns a buffered image of the object representing the current image and saves it as a PNG format. On success, it shows a pop-up with the file path and sets the isImage method to boolean value true. If any error is occurred, it catches the IOE exception and shows an error message. So now let's see this in action. I'll enter the command save. I'll save this file in my desktop. It shows the message image saved successfully and the file path. Let's see now if the image has been saved or not. So here you can see the image have been saved. I'll open this in the paint package. Let me draw something here. So this requirement is completed. So I'll take this as a yes. Moving on to the next requirement. Load command works. Clear the screen and then open up your image on the screen on the turtle display. So in your code, draw something and save it. Clear the screen and then open up your image on the turtle display. So here I'll enter the command clear to clear the screen. Enter the command load. You can see the previous image has been loaded successfully. Let me show you the code for this requirement now. So here when the user enters the command load, calls the method check unsafe changes before load. Here is the method for check unsafe changes. Here is the code for the method check unsafe changes before load that checks for unsafe changes. If found, it prompts the user yes that saves first or cancel that exists. Otherwise, it calls the method load image. So here is the code for the load image method that opens a file chooser, loads the selected image file with imageio.read method that displays it on canvas. It shows a pop-up message and then update the flags is image saved to true and is command saved to false. Now here in Turtle Graphics, I'll draw something. I'll enter the command save. I'll clear the screen and then I'll enter the command load. So you can see here the image is loaded successfully. So I'll take this as a yes. Now moving to the next requirement. Saves all command previously typed as a text file. So in your code, draw something and save the commands. So the commands in a text editor. So I'll show you my code first. So when the user enters save commands method is called. This is my code for the save command method. Let me close this. Okay, now here first it checks if the command history is empty. If so, it pops up and exists. Then, if not, it opens a file chooser. If cancelled, it exists. If not, a file is chosen. It writes only valid commands, excluding the commands where remove command method has been called, and the system commands like save, load, save command, and load commands using buffered writer. Upon success, it shows a confirmation pop-up and is command saved is set to boolean value true. If any error, it catches the IOE exception and shows the pop-up message and prints the stack trace. So now let me show this running. Here I clear. I'll draw something. So now I'll enter the save command and save this here in desktop. It says command saved successfully as commands.txt. Let's see if the file has been created. Okay, the file is created, and here you can see all the commands that I typed earlier are shown here. So I'll take this as a yes. Now moving to the next question. This question wants me to load a text file of commands and execute them. So before doing that, I'll show you my code here. So when the command load command is entered, it calls the check unsafe commands before load method. This is the code for the check unsafe command before load. Let me close this. Okay, here inside this method, it checks if commands are unsaved. If so, it shows a yes no cancel dialer. If yes, it saves. If cancel, it exists. Otherwise, it calls the method load commands that I have created. So here, this is the code for the load command method that opens a file chooser to select a .txt file. If a file is selected, it clears the current history, reads each non-empty line, adds it to command history, and execute it with process command. On success, it shows a pop-up and the is command saved boolean value is set to true. If loading fails, it shows an error message and prints the stack trace with the pop-up message. So now let's see this in action. Here I'll clear the screen. Now I'll enter the command load command. As you can see, the commands are being loaded as well as the image is recreated. So let me enter the color magenta and draw a circle. Okay, invalid command. So the circle is drawn. Now I'll enter the command load command. Oh, sorry, save command. It says command saved successfully as command.txt. Now before clearing and reloading the image, so I'll clear this canvas for now and load the command again. So again, so you can see here the command has loaded successfully and the image is recreated. So moving to the second part of the question, here it says you may want to use a Java text area, JText area, so the user can see all the commands, but you can just save those that have passed through the text field, or you can echo them to the console. So instead of showing the user enter commands in the terminal, Here I have created a JText area, and this is non-editable, where the user can see all the entered commands, even the invalid ones. But when the load command method is entered, then only the valid commands are saved here. Let me show you. So here, as you remember earlier, that I had entered invalid command for while drawing the circle, but the invalid commands are removed, and just the valid ones are write to the .txt file. So I'll take this as a yes. Now moving on to the next question. A warning is displayed somewhere console dialog box if the current image is not saved and display is not affected until the user answers. So in your code, draw something and then try to clear, and then try and clear to show the warning. So let me show you this in my code first. As you can see here, I have created and used these boolean flags is image saved and is command saved, and by default they are set to false. These tracks whether the image or commands have been saved and whether the user is currently drawing. So here, before executing the load command or uh, before executing the load command or load command, it calls the check concept changes before load and check concept commands before load method. So here is the check concept command before load and check concept changes method. Check concept changes before load. So this method uses jpin option dot show confirm dialog imported from Java Xswing to prompt the user if there are unsafe changes. The user can choose to save, discard, or cancel the operation based on their choice. The app either saves the data, proceeds, or cancels the load. And for the message inside the dialog box, here you can see I have called the build unsafe change message that returns a message using the if else conditional statements. And so unsafe changes dialog method is called, where again the J option pane is imported from the Java Xswing that shows the warning. So now let's see this in action. So if I enter clear, let's reset the total position. So now here, if I try to load some image, it shows me the warning saying both image and commands are not saved. Do you want to save them before loading? But if I type the command save and save this image and now try to load the command, you see now here the flag for the this current image saved is changed to true, and so now it's just showing the warning for the commands that have been not saved and is working as intended. So I'll take this as a yes. A warning is displayed using a GUI dialog box if the current image is not saved, and the display is not affected until the user answers. So in your code, draw something and then try to clear to show the warning. So I just showed you guys the code. for this earlier. Let me show you something else quickly here. Let me clear this. So if I draw a circle, circle 100. So radius, x coordinates and y coordinates. So a circle would be drawn off the screen. So let me try just creating a circle here. So if I type load command, it says that both image and commands are not saved. Do you want to save them before loading? And here you can see the all three options, and if any of the option is clicked, it responds accordingly and the image is not affected. So I'll take this as a yes. Now moving on to requirement 5, inheritance. Override the about method so that it still does the same dance but appends a message that contains your name. Show your code, so the new about method working. So here in my code, I have overridden the about method. Now let me show you this in action here. It still does the same dance. And appends my name, Subash Shah, to the canvas. So this requirement is done. Moving on to the next question. Implement a square length command. Turtle should wander around the edge of the square and return to its original position. So it's working. So in your code, how you did this. So let me clear the screen here. So it does create a square and walks around the perimeter length and return back to its original position. So now let me show this in my code. So here, when the user enters the command square, handle square command method is called. Here inside the handle square command method, it it validates the parameter count. It checks for any extra parameters if given. If not, it then tries the if not, then the parameter is parsed in an integer. It validates if the length is positive, then it calls the method draw square. If not, it catches the number format exception and displays the error. So for the draw square, so here in drawing method section, here you have see I have created a method to draw a square using for loop. So I'll take this as a yes. Now moving on to next question. A pin red, green, blue command that takes three parameters, one for red, one for green, and one for blue to make an RGB color. This should be subject to full error checking, but it is enough to report only the parameters only that the parameters are invalid. So in your code, so the new pen command working, get three different colors. So I'll show you this in my code first. So here is the code for the pen color, and here is the method that's being called handle custom color command. So let me show you this method. So this is the method for the handle custom color command for the pen color. Then here is the method that method parse RGB color that sets the pen color. Now I'll show you this working. Let me hit play. Now 100 in color 0. Now 100. So you can see here all the specified colored word. So if I enter the color command with the blue, where I have for the blue color, where I have given the number 500, you can see here RGB values must be between 0 and 255. It shows the error. So I'll take this as a yes. And now moving on to the next question. A pen with command that alters the pen width for all the further drawing operations. So in your code, so the new command working. So here is the command pen width, and here is the method that it calls handle pen width command. When the command pen width is entered, inside this method it validates for the required parameter, then checks for the length, and inside the try method it parses the string to the integer, then it again validates for the width, the for the positive integer the max width, and validate non-zero parameter. So for the max width for the pen, I have set it here to 100. Then it sets the pen width calling the LVU graphics method, and if any error occurs, it shows the invalid number format for the pen width. So let's see if it's working or not. Left pen width. So it says missing parameter for pen width 0. Value cannot be 0. minus 20. This is parameter must be positive. Pin width 20 and then 20. This is command pin width works with only one parameter. Pin width 20. It says now pin width set to 20. Let's move by 100. So you can see the pin width command works. I'll take this as a yes. Now moving on to the next question. A triangle size command that draws an equilateral triangle. So in your code, so the new triangle command working. You don't have to have the turtle move over the triangle. That will be worth additional marks below. So let me show you my code first. So here when the command triangle is entered, handle triangle command method is called. Here inside this method, it validates for the required parameter count first. Then it takes the length for the triangle. Then here, if only one parameter is entered, it calls the triangle method that I have created here. So here is the code for the triangle method where I have used the for loop statement, and since it's an equilateral triangle, all the angles must be 60 degrees, so I have turned the total right by 120 degrees. Now let's see this in action. Let me clear the screen here. Let's reset the turtle. Triangle 100. As you can see, it draws a triangle, equilateral triangle, and when I hit the command reset, it does resets the pen width, and it does reset the pen width and the color that was earlier chosen to red by default. So I'll take this as a yes. Now moving on to the next question. A further triangle command which specifies three sides that draws any triangle. Look at the polygons triangle. So how it works. So it working, and so in your code how you achieve this. So let me show this in my code quickly. Here again, when the triangle command triangle is called, handle triangle command method is I mean when user enters the triangle command, handle triangle command method is called. So here if the user enters three sides for the triangle length, then this triangle method overloads the previous triangle method. And here let me show you the triangle method that I have created right here below the previous triangle method. So here here I have used the math function math functions to calculate the angles using the laws of cosines, and this will be my code for the triangle. Now let's see this in action. So I'll type clear triangle. So you can see here it does the triangle. So if I type triangle 100, 200, it shows the error invalid triangle. Sum of any two sides must be greater than the third. So inside this method, so here inside the handle triangle method, it first validates if all the sides are positive or not, and if the size for the triangle is valid or not. So let me show you the validator from method that I have created for the triangle. So here you can see this method. So I'll take this as a yes, and that are not a specific requirement on the marking scheme. Anything else to add? So here I have created a menu bar with options File, Tools, and Help. Inside the File drop-down menu, you can see here I have Save, Open, Save command, and Load command. So if I enter Save, it opens the Save dialog box. Likewise, it does for the Open, Save command, and Load command. If I hit Exit, the program stops running. So let me rerun it again. So then in Tools, drop down menu, there is a pointer from which you can choose through different images to change the turtle image or the pointer. Sorry. So all of these are working. Then inside the tools here, when I hit the turtle position, it displays the status, the X position, Y position, direction the turtle is facing, pen state, pen color, pen width, background color, and the status bound. Inside the help, I have about and commands, where if I click the about is about the LB graphic system is displayed. And here, when I hit commands, all the commands are listed here with the description, what it does. Now let me add this in the demo file. Then I have also added some new commands. Let me show you those commands. So let's change the toggle back to default. So here, if I enter the position, it again displays the status of the turtle. If I hit dance, that takes one parameter. So for you can see the turtle showing its dance move. If I hit speed, and then it takes this also takes one parameter. I'll set it to one. And if I draw a triangle, you can see it moves fastly than the original speed it is set to. Then the another command that I have added is clear interface. That clears the display message from here. Then the another command that I have added is circle, and this works with the radius and the XY coordinates. Then I have added another command called busy color. that changes the background color, and this does takes the RGB values too. Okay, sorry. So easy color. Okay, so it worked. Now let me adjust here. Position, scale, clear interface, circle, and easy color. Then the last thing, here inside the tools, if I click the mouse drawing and set the pen up, you can see I can move the turtle with the mouse, and if I click down, it starts to browse. So let me add this here. So now here I have shown this form in the demo. Yes, I have shown this form in the demo. Yes, I have put my name and root in the readme.md in the root directory of my file, my GitHub portfolio. Yes, I have explained my code in this demo. Yes, I'll submit this form now, upload my YouTube demo, and then come back and edit my form to paste in the YouTube link. So yes, that concludes my presentation. Thank you for watching.